Welcome, my name is Clayton. I'm one of the tutors with the Natural Sciences Tutoring Center at SCC. Today we're going to be talking about dimensional analysis. Dimensional analysis sounds big and scary. Really it's just converting units of measure from one type of unit to another. So I just wrote this up on the board here. We're going to practice here with converting meters to miles. So this is a measure of distance and a measure of distance. It doesn't always have to be the exact same thing that you're converting from and to, but if it is, that kind of makes our lives maybe a little bit easier at the end of the day. So let's talk about some of the fundamentals here. First, we're going to touch on kind of building a pathway to reach our goal. We're going to talk about what we're actually multiplying by at the end of the day, and then we're going to go ahead and just solve this problem. All right, so why don't we just get started here? First thing we're going to talk about is our pathway. So give me a second, I'm going to write a few things on the board. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So all I've done here is written down a few, these are conversions. These are actually just, they're just equalities here. This is a true statement. 1,609 meters equals 1 mile. That's true. So if you type in the conversion in Google, which is what we usually do, right? Then you'll see that this is true. We would also see that 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, and so on. So what we need to solve this problem, we need some equivalency, something that has ideally both meters and miles in it. So that's what we have here. Meters directly to, miles. But sometimes we don't know this right off the top of our head. Sometimes we can't do these conversions in one step. So if you ran track in high school maybe, then you would probably know this one. This is pretty reasonable. I did run track in high school and I didn't know this. The conversion that I learned from the metric to standard measurement is 1 inch, or I guess English, whatever, is 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. That's the one that I had memorized. So previous to learning this one exactly, I knew this, which means I couldn't take this pathway. I couldn't do this conversion in one step because I didn't know the one step. That's a problem. Well, it's a problem because it makes it more difficult for me. It's not really a problem because if I know these other things, then we're fine. Alternatively, maybe you know that 1 meter equals 3.28 feet. That one I had to Google because I didn't know that. And now I can do it in 2 steps here, okay? So what we're talking about is a pathway to get to our goal. I want to convert meters into miles. If I have the right tool, I can do it in 1 step. There's no guarantee though that we're going to have that right tool. There is a million ways to solve this problem. We just need to do one of them. We just need to have the right tools for one of them. And each set of the equivalencies here is a set of tools. When I first was doing this, when I was in general chemistry, when I first was learning about the dimensional analysis stuff, I didn't know this, but I did know this. I knew this one. And so I would go from meters to centimeters. Then I would go from centimeters to inches. Then from inches to feet, from feet to miles. I know there's 5,280 feet in a mile. That was my path that I took. Again, maybe you know how many meters in feet. Then we go from meters to feet, from feet to miles. We're looking for an avenue to get to our goal here, okay? And again, there are a million ways to do it. We just need to find one that will work for us. So that's kind of addressing the different pathways. There's not one right answer. There's one right answer for what this distance is. 2,500 meters is 2,500 meters no matter what way you slice it. If I grab my ruler I have sitting up here, So if I grab this ruler, this says 12 inches. It also says, roughly 30.5 centimeters. 12 inches, whether I convert it into centimeters or not, is still 12 inches long. If I talk about it in centimeters, 12 inches equals 30.5 centimeters. So I'm not trying to change the distance, I'm just changing the units, and that's what dimensional analysis really is. We're just changing those units. So ultimately, I want to be multiplying by 1. So let's talk about that for a hot minute here. Okay, welcome back. So all I've done here is write a few, math problems up on the board here. What is 3 divided by 3? Obviously, everybody knows 3 divided by 3 is 1. 150 divided by 150. What's that? Again, we know that that's 1. All right, so why are we talking about this? Anything divided by itself is 1. Our goal here, or not our goal, our method, I guess, is to treat units as if they were numbers or variables. So when you're taking an algebra class and you see x divided by x at some point, well, that equals 1. Well, what if I have meters divided by meters? That also equals 1. And that's really what we're getting here. We want to make sure that when we cancel our units, we're dividing by that same unit so that it equals 1, okay? So we're going to be multiplying by 1. And let's take this a step further. So let me erase this real quick here. So now the question is, how do I know if I'm going from 2,500 meters, so let's just go ahead and write this one here, it's 2,500 meters. How do I know, well, we already talked about what we need to divide by. How do I know that I'm allowed to just do this? So yeah, directly to, we'll do this in one step here. So 1 mile equals 1609 meters, and that equals something. So how do I know that I'm allowed to just go ahead and, turn this into this? That doesn't really make sense. Why can I turn this thing that says equals 1 mile, why do I get to now just divide by 1609 meters? And how do I know that it's not supposed to be the other way around? 1609 meters over 1 mile. How do I know that this is okay and that I don't want this? If this is okay, then this must be okay, right? Who's making these rules? So now let's talk about the other half of that multiplying by 1 and address this issue right here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to erase a couple things and we'll be right back. All right, so we can see all I've done here is just written this out twice, and we're going to use it here. So when we say multiplying by 1, 12 inches is 12 inches whether it's in centimeters or not, right? Therefore, we don't want to change the length, this distance that we're talking about. We want to change the units. So if I have this equivalency here, 1609 meters equals 1 mile, let's say I divide by 1 mile here on the right side. We've all taken an algebra class. I know if I divide by this on the right, I must divide by that on the left. Well, this equals 1. So now I get 1609 meters over 1 mile equals 1. So if I use this tool, if I use this equivalency, and I have 1609 meters over 1 mile, I'm effectively multiplying by 1. And in this case, if I have miles on the top somewhere, I will be able to divide miles by miles, canceling it out effectively. Let's talk about this one down here and do the opposite direction. I'll divide by 1609 meters on both sides. Well, now in this case, that equals 1. So now we have 1 mile over 1609 meters equals 1. And once again, if I use this, conversion, if I have 1 mile over 1609 meters, I am still multiplying by 1 because this equals 1. We just proved that twice. So now we can see, yeah, it doesn't matter whether I divide by 1 mile with this on the top or I divide by 1609 meters with this on the top. What we really want is to cancel out, to divide by meters so that we get rid of those units, okay? All right, so once again, I'm going to erase this, and now we're going to actually solve this problem, and we're going to solve it using each one of these methods, and we'll just see what kind of answers we get. All right, give me 1 second, erase these things, be right back. All right, welcome back. As you can see, I just rewrote all of our things over here, a little smaller. These are all our tools, our true statements. This equal sign indicates a true statement, and that's what we need to solve these problems. All right, so I'm going to use 1609 first. So let's set this up. I will say, all right, 2,500 meters. And the question is, what do I want to divide by? We've already shown that I can either divide by miles or I can divide by meters, with the other one being, on the top of that fraction. So in this case, I don't want meters in my final answer. Therefore, I know that meters over meters equals 1, effectively canceling that out. So I want to divide by meters. If I divide by meters, miles must go on the top. And then the number simply follows the unit. 1 mile, 1609 meters. There we go. All right, so I'm going to erase this first, and then I'll grab my calculator here. So I'm going to say 2,500 meters, 2500, divided by 1609 meters. We can't put units on our calculator. And I don't need to multiply by 1. But effectively, anything on the top, we're going to multiply. Anything on the bottom, we're going to divide. That's it. That's as complicated as it needs to be. So 2,500 times 1, that's 2,500. I'm not going to include the 1. So here we get 1.55. And this is meters divided by meters. And we're left with miles. 1.55 miles. All right, very good. Let's check out the one in red over there, where we know how many feet are in a meter. So give me a second here. All right, so again, we're going to start with 2,500 meters, 2,500 meters. And again, we're looking for that pathway. I have from meters to feet, and then from feet to miles. So first, I will want to divide by meters. Well, that leaves me with feet on top. Again, how we solve this is purely dependent on the tools we have available to us. What true statements do we know? If you know this, that makes your life really easy because it's only one conversion here. Again, I didn't know either of these when I first started. I only knew 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. That's how I converted English to metric units. So I had to use that one. But anyway, so now we have 1 meter equals 3.28 feet. I'm dividing again by meters here. Oh, we don't want equals yet because we want miles. If I stopped right here, I would have feet. Now I need to get rid of my feet. So I'll divide by feet. And we want miles. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Okay, perfect. So let's grab the old calculator again. And we will get 2,500 this is on the top, times 3.28 feet divided by 5,280 feet in a mile. And again, we get 1.55, as we should, because we used true statements. If we're using true statements, it doesn't matter how you get to where you want to go. As long as they're true, you're going to get the same number. I would argue that we're probably going to get the same number with all these. Let's try it out. So I'll grab my green marker here. Once again, same starting place, 2,500. So 2,500 meters. And we want to divide by meters. So I'll put meters on the bottom. And here, meters, I know meters is centimeters, okay? So, and again, the number follows the unit. 100 centimeters over 1 meter. Now I need to divide my centimeters out. So I'll put centimeters on the bottom over here. And I know inches. So for every 1 inch, I have 2.54 centimeters. Now I need to divide my inches out. So for every 12 inches, I have 1 foot. And finally, divide my feet out here, and I will get my miles. So every 5,280 feet, I get 1 mile. These are all true statements, therefore this conversion is valid. So I'm going to take my calculator again, 2,500 times 100 divided by 2.54, and I'm ignoring the ones again, and I like to go just straight across. So I said 2,500 times 100 divided by 2.54 divided by 12 divided by 5,280, and once again 1.55 miles, as expected. So again, I did this 3 different times just to reiterate. The pathway is dependent on your knowledge. If you know this, use it. You don't get a Google machine on your test. You don't get to Google anything, right? And so if you are unfamiliar with this conversion, you'll have to find a different pathway, one that you are familiar with. Again, just to repeat myself for the 100th time, I knew this. I knew 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. That forced me to go down this path. This we learned, the 100 centimeters is 1 meter. That we learned, maybe at the beginning of the semester, maybe in high school, whatever, who cares? We've known this since about 2nd or 3rd grade. And that, I happen to know I was a runner in high school, so I knew that there's 5,280 feet in a mile. So that was helpful for me, right? But I was forced down this pathway because I didn't know these other two that may have been simpler. So that's, again, that's just to show that as long as you're using true statements, we will get the same exact answer. And our goal here is dividing out our units. If I divide meters by meters, that equals 1. We're treating units like numbers. Centimeters divided by centimeters equals 1. So it effectively cancels it out. That's the whole goal here. All right, so that pretty much does it for fundamentals of dimensional analysis. Follow-up videos will have more complex problems. We'll use rates in other ones, and maybe something like volume. So if you have a liter and want to convert that into feet cubed, how do you do that? We can talk about, we'll talk about those things, maybe areas, things like that, okay? So if you're looking for more complex problems, look for a couple follow-up videos, and we will make sure we work through those problems. This is the fundamentals, so we're going to keep it with the pretty straightforward problem right here. All right, awesome. Once again, my name is Clayton. Thank you so much for tuning in with the Natural Sciences Tutoring Center at Scottsdale Community College. Please stop by if you're having any issues or problems with any of your classes, and we would love to help you with that material. Thank you very much. See ya.